How old were you when you moved up here to Castlebridge?
17.
17.
17.
And you came up here to work up in Nun's house, is that right?
That's right, yeah. When I first came there, I was working in the kitchen a bit. There was another older person there who was cooking. But I had got a bit of experience. Well, I was able to make butter and make bread and do lots of things like that because I went to a domestic economy class for a while. And I wasn't very long there anyway till I started cooking, and eventually I was there cooking then I was 18, say. Yeah. You know.
And where was your domestic economy class? Was that in Bridgetown or was it in Wexford Town? Or?
No, there was a domestic economy teacher came to the school, the old school where I went to school in. But she used to come in the evening time and do the classes for us, and that's where I attended them. And I was showed how to make cheese, make butter, make jam, cakes, and sponge cakes and little things like that, which was a good advantage to me afterwards, Of course, I always made bread at home anyway, and stews, blind stews at that. I remember.
A blind stew?
You would, because we wouldn't have meat every day, but to be full of vegetables. And they used to put beef dripping into among the pump, all of them. And we'd have a lovely meal out of it. We used to love that.
Would that be cooked over on a skillet pot, was it?
Oh yes, in the black pot with the soldiers on the bottom of the pot. The soldiers with the fire, used to burn the soot on the bottom of the pot. And we used to call them soldiers. And,
yeah, and the soldiers were the little
red fire, this was the fire on the bottom of it, it used to be the soot, but we used to call them the soldiers. Well, all of kids did, I think. And times we'd be counting them, the little red spots all from the fire burning, the soot it would be, I think, in them days.
And you'd make up your big pot of stew, whatever you'd have.
Oh,
spuds,
big
carrots.
Carrots, parsnips, onions, big feet, nice big flowery poppies, and potatoes, and it was the beef dripping. I think you used to buy beef dripping years ago in the shops, I don't know what now, I don't know. I couldn't tell you where it came from. But I used to hear them saying that's the beef dripping, put a bit of that in with the stew.
Give it flavour.
Give it a flavour, yeah.
And you called potatoes poppies there?
Yes, poppies, yeah, that's right. My father always used to say that, come on, sit down now and eat your poppies, he'd always say. That was, when we were small, more poppies, he used to say.
Poppies you called them?
Yeah, the potatoes. Yeah.
Do you ever hear them calling them prates? Or praties?
I did hear that all right now, but it wasn't used that much, but I did, praties.
Yeah. And so then you were at home, so you knew how to cook a blind stew, as you said.
Yeah.
And then this domestic economy class started up in school in Kilkenny, was that right?
Down Ballymore, yeah.
Ballymore, is it?
Yeah.
And then you were, how old were you again when you moved up here?
17.
17?
17, yeah.
So at 17 you came up to Castlebridge to work here in the kitchen?
That's right.
And what was that like compared to what you were used to? Or any was would have
Well, it was a big change anyway to what I had been used to, as I said, because it was modern with the ovens and the hot water in the kitchen and run, It was a big boiler in the kitchen. I used to put a bucket and a half of coal into it every day. There were no radiators, I told you, in the house, but there were big fireplaces in all the bedrooms and the sitting room, drawing room, every place. There were fires every place, and some kind of heaters, electric heaters, that used to be from the mill wheel. You know the mill wheel down there now? Well, they used to generate the electricity through the water on the mill wheel. And Dick Keaton was in the place to call it the powerhouse, he used to call it, where he generated the electricity that came up to the house then. But they only used them on occasion, the electric fires or anything, because it took a lot of water and all, I don't know now, to form the electricity, you know. But he was constant there. Dick Keaton was his name, and he lived right opposite the mill wheel one time, but there's a new house there now, but the same families are there still. And then the rest of was history. This fella carrying up coal, all the staff that was in the house working, like, you know, there were the housemaid, the parlour maid, the kitchen maid, the cook, the chauffeur, and the gardeners, all there when I was there, like, you know. And there was a gate lodge here in the bottom of the hill. That belonged to the house, and there was families that used to be in the garden, lived there in them days as well. And it was a great place for everyone to gather after Mass of a Sunday outside this gate lodge, where there was a big long green wall went up along there, and all the men used to stand down along by that and hurl and football and all the latest for, say, half an hour or so, before they all disappeared then again after Mass on a Sunday.
So you were 17 when you came up, and what year are we talking roughly? Dan, what year was it when you moved up?
1945.
1945.
Yeah.
And so they had electricity in 1945.
Oh, they had electricity, yeah, that's right, 1945. But it was their own generation thing they call it. The powerhouse that in the mill yard, you know where the mill yard is there now? Well, that was there, and Dick Keaton used to run that, and he used to come. We used to use electric ironing on time, and he'd be up after us because he'd say, "You can't be using that electric iron, you have your other ones." He used to want me to lay on the hot plates, you know, and he'd be going mad about using electricity. And particularly when they'd be in the winter time, because they used to have the shooting parties there and, you know, different things like that. And they'd be using more electricity with the lights and one thing or another. But they never had electric blankets around, you know, hot water bottles. And them stone jars, you know them with they had a lot of them there as well.
So you had to be careful about the amount of electricity you would have used.
Oh yes, yeah. Well, it wouldn't be. It would be Dick Keaton, the man that was doing it. Poor Dick. He'd be up. No, don't use that electricity. Oh, that's there. We'd be getting on to him, but he'd have to be working all the time and, you know, keep. I don't know whatever this generation thing was in there. They called it the powerhouse. He did. From the mill wheel would be going, you see. And when they stopped that, then the water, there was a mill race the whole way up along the Dublin Road. And the water used to run down there to circulate the mill wheel, I think. I didn't understand it very much, but I know we used to hear about it enough.
And what else would you have? You'd have the lights running, you would have had anything else in the kitchen running off that electricity? Was there any ovens or anything like that running off the electricity?
There was an electric oven in, but it was never used very much because there was always to spare the electricity, you see. We had the lighting, every place was well lit up and outside, and there'd be only that, and there's some electric fires now.
Yeah.
There was a few electric fires used to be on. I don't think there was anything else on electric. Can't remember. Because the Yaga cooker was great, you know. There were 4 fine ovens on that, and that was marvellous because we used to be able to put the irons, as you said, on the hot plate and leave them there, and they'd be hot enough to iron with, you say, different things like that. The kettles, leave them there on the big hot plate there. And then this big boiler was in the kitchen as well, and that used to heat the water. And that used to circulate through all the bedrooms and all, the hot water, you see.
So they had a boiler inside in the kitchen that ran on coal, was that right?
Coal. Guinness's coal.
Guinness coal, yeah.
I mustn't say that.
Yeah, but it ran on coal, and is it heat hot water?
I'll tell you, the coal that they used in the malt houses, that's what they burnt in that boiler. Because I remember Barney's brother and Norton, and they used to be down there working that time down where the mill wheel was, and this big wheelbarrowfuls of coal used to come up and be put next to the kitchen shed there, and we'd bring in a big bucketful and a half to take to keep it going for the day or the night, but there was never any question about it. We could use away on it, and I often was in and just the girls would say, for God's sake, turn off that thing there, because the water would be boiling out over the house. And no radiators, you know. It was strange, wasn't it?
So it would get too hot, it would overflow.
It would overflow, yeah.
So you were telling me the rooms would have had their own hot water in the rooms?
Oh, they had water in their rooms. Oh, yes.
They got like a tap?
Yes, yeah, they had the taps. Oh, yeah, the wash basin. And the taps was in all the rooms and in the cloakroom and all. You know, there was a cloakroom in the big hall coming in that used to have there for the gentlemen, as they call them, the two toilets, one on each end of it, and the two or three wash basins in it as well. And that he'd used the bossman master, and then when they'd be there in the shooting, they'd be all busy there in there, because there'd be a good few of them going in and out, you know. And they had the work and that.
And you'd go back to your own house then, and there'd be no electricity, only maybe a tilly lamp and a bit of candle or something.
No electricity, no. We had tilly lamp.
Yeah.
I think the tilly lamp was. But it wasn't so long. It wasn't so long till we got the electricity down around where I was from then, you know. Yeah. Can't remember how long it was, but it must have been a good while, because I remember getting the electricity put into the little house I went to live in when I got married. And it wasn't, I don't think it was running to different people for a long time, like, you know. Took a long time to get it.
And when you were working there then, you were mentioning Guinnesses there, you'd have these big shooting parties would come down, would they?
Well, it'd be, yeah, they'll come from a few of the head ones and all from Guinness's. Oh, they were brought down there purposely, of course, for keep thick with them, yeah. As she used to say. Her bread and butter. Yeah. She used to say to me, you know, we better have this for dinner and that for dinner. But they used to have they used to keep her own turkeys and all, you see, and fowl all up. Before my day, there used to be a tennis ground and all up in it, but she had turned it back then. She kept turkeys and different things there for the use in the house, and hens and different things, you know. And all them, they used to have the turkeys for the shooting and the chickens and all their own, you see. And then the hens used to preserve the eggs from the hens with water glass and Eggo stuff put on to preserve them.
You'd preserve the eggs, would you?
Yeah.
And what would you put on the eggs again? Water?
They used to call it water glass. It was a liquid now, like clear water, but when it would be set to turn white like milk, and you keep putting the eggs into that, and that's set, and that was to preserve the eggs. And there was another one, Eggo, they call it, and it was like a Vaseline, and it was smoothed all through around the eggs, and they were put in little crates like for to let the air go through. But it's extraordinary the way they kept, you know. I've used them now, and they were over a year or more in the larder on the cool, but that preservative on them. And not time you'd happen on one wasn't, we wouldn't think you'd be right, you know, and you wouldn't use it. But it was used in them days. I suppose you wouldn't use them now. Yeah, that's right. Made cakes, made everything with them.
Yeah.
Them preserved eggs.
And there was only the husband and wife in the house, isn't that right?
That's always there when I was there.
Their names again were, he was
Josh.
Yeah.
Josh. And her name was Maple, I think. Maple Nunn, I think it was her name. Yeah, Maple, I think. Yeah.
And the chap's name, did one son have?
John. Yeah, he had one son, but he was gone when I came there.
Mm.
He was killed in the war or something, I don't know. I don't know what, no great details now about him. Although through the Shortle Road, I'd done a big book of history on it. She had something there about where he was shot or killed or something on him.
And did you ever talk about their son to you, or the loss of the son?
No, not much. No, didn't. Well, you see, he was about a year gone. They were over it a bit, like, you know. Yeah. So they didn't say. Wouldn't be one to have much conversation with you anyway. The Mrs. Nunn had come down to the kitchen to me in the morning when I was there, and that was it. We'd talk about what they wanted for the meals, or, you know, what's going to be done. And then she'd be gone, you wouldn't see her no more, like maybe for the whole day. She could come the next day again, you know.
So to be two men in the house, living in the house?
Yeah.
That's all, sir?
That was always there then.
And how many of you were working there then? How many of you were working?
There were 4 girls,
yeah.
And a woman used to come in once a week at that time, and they were called the housemaid, the parlour maid, you know, the cook and the kitchen, and then the char or something we used to call her. Woman used to come to. She used to come to do scrubbing out the kitchen and the larders and the dairy and that thing, you know.
And were they all local women, women you knew?
Well, yeah, they were.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were locals, but they're all dead now. There was a couple of girls there now that not long died. One of them, she came in, I trained her a bit, you know, there's the way it goes. And she only died last week. You
what
know?
was her name?
Ronnie Coughlin. Coughlin was her name, yeah. But she was there for a long time. She was there for a long time after I went out of it, you know. Yeah,
can you remember any other names who worked there?
The girls?
Yeah.
Oh, I would, yeah. When I was there, well, there was Joyce Phillipson, Becky Ryan, Mary Bahana, Nan and Nola Cullerton, Kathleen Bergen, and Moni McLean. Moni Dempsey, she was that time though. And in the house, I think that's all of Mary Bahana. Oh no, those 2 Fagans, Annie Fagan and Maureen Fagan. And I think that's more. Oh, they used to be there, yeah, hard enough.
And how long did you work there for?
9 years.
9 years?
Yeah.
So 54 or so you left, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, good Lord. That's a good spell too.
Oh, it wasn't bad.
Yeah.
It was great. It was a wonderful place to be, because you had the best of food, and you had a very comfortable bedroom and all, and all your laundry was done, like, well, not your clothes, but your bed linen and all was changed and sent to the laundry every week. You know, it was well looked after that way, like, you know.
What were they like? Did they treat you well, or was there?
They kept you at a distance always.
Yeah.
No, you know, they did really.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be one anyway. I was never made. Some of them were able to walk their way and talk, but I just done my work and done. Get rid of it. I wasn't that type, like, you know.
Yeah.
So, but there was a chauffeur there after he was there in my time. He was a young man came in after the old man that was the chauffeur died. It was John MacDonald. And the other man then came, and he was there till they died, till old Mr. Nunn died. And he left them a good bit of, I don't know, a car, a house, money or something.
Yeah.
And then the fellas in the office, I don't know what.
Yeah.
I know I was called down to go down anyway. I looked after the house when the funeral was on. I went down. The fellas down in the office said, would I come up to it? Didn't want any strangers into it or anything, you know. But I think his funeral was just a pipe. Went down to the Ladies' Island, I think he's buried in, down there someplace.
What year was that, can you remember?
God, I wouldn't remember the year.
Did she die before him, or did she die after him?
Oh, she died first.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, he was there a long time after.
Yeah.
After she died. I don't know whether she was older than him or not. I don't think she was.
Yeah.
She was a Brian. It was her people owned the mill and all first, I think. Brian's.
She was Breen.
Brian, yeah.
Was she Irish then?
Oh, she was, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
He was English though, was he?
He must have been, well, I don't know. No, he originally down in Kilmore. And there was Silver Spring, you know where Silver Spring is, down in Kilmore. Well, I think that was the original place of the nuns years back. And then there were Alma in Wexford, called Alma. And no, they weren't in Polahore, but one of his brothers lived in Polahore for a good many years after the people used to live there? Springs. Captain Spring used to live there in Polahore.
All right.
But,
and there were Church of Ireland, weren't they?
Oh yes.
There were Church of Ireland. Yeah.
Always went to church. They were good for going to church.
Yeah.
Very fussy about that. And they were good to the Catholic Church as well. Always sent flowers, and if there were anything needed for the church there, they'd send over. When the confirmation and things would be on now, they'd be always send over the armchair and the different things for the bishop, you know, to the church. Yeah.
And they would have had their own greenhouse as well and all that. Was there a greenhouse there?
Oh, good Lord, yeah.
The big greenhouse, yeah.
There was the roundhouse, you know, that's up there still in the Saltburn Gate in now, but they had a big long greenhouse. I think I have a picture of that here, actually. Big long greenhouse up in the garden part. But the garden was well looked after. Sure, there were four men up there as well.
What were their names? Can you remember their men's names?
I can, and I tell you who one of them was. Do you know May Devericks? Did you know her father, Dick Devericks, Dick Welch? She was Dick Welch, and his brother John Welch, and Tom Jordan, and Sean Murphy. And then after that, then there was other people there. There were the younger ones came in after their day, but they were the ones that was there in my day, as the fella says. Yeah, and Brian, Barney's brother was there. I think he used to be up there. He was only a chap that time, but he used to be in there. He eventually was working there as well afterwards.
And did they have grapes and unusual stuff?
Oh, did they have? They had everything. They had pears, they had cherries, plums, pears, grapes. What else had they? That was all the fruit. Strawberries. I don't remember what they. I think they were black, and rhubarb and blackcurrants. All that was in the garden. I know we used to go up to the garden when we gone home and they'd be on. I remember the head gardener came in one morning to me and he said, "Show me your shoes," he said to me. And I said, "Why do you want to see my shoes for?" And he said, "Show me your shoes." And I said, "There, what's wrong with them?" "Oh, that's the footprints was taking all the plums," he said. Down along the wall.
And was he right?
He
was.
Well, we used to go up and get an of plums, because he'd bring down the fruit, you see, to the house. I used to bottle all that fruit, loads of it.
Oh,
preserve it, yeah. Yes. God, that was a job, I tell you. We used to do that. I done loads of that, blackcurrants and...
Are you serious?
Yes, yeah.
How would you preserve them in a kind of a syrup or
a straight syrup, yeah. And then Kilner big jars with rubber thing on them. And then we used to steam them, like, to seal the jars tight, and we sterilise them first.
Yeah.
And, the dairy shelf was full up of bottled fruit. We used to do gooseberries, blackcurrants, strawberries, raspberries and rhubarb. I've done them regular. That was all the preservatives, that's what I said. And that was the job, doing the eggs and doing that.
Did you preserve meat at all?
No,
No.
never preserved meat.
Or herons? Did you pickle herons in barrels at all?
No, I never done them, no, because I don't know why, but they never bothered about them. The time of the year that they'd need them was in the winter time, and the herrings and all was in them, fresh,
Yeah.
So that I never done them.
Yeah. And can you even remember, food-wise, what were you cooking for them? Or what would be a typical breakfast? Or would it be different breakfast every morning?
No, they weren't the same breakfast now. It's extraordinary what them two lived on themselves, and they'd have just porridge in the morning and toast and marmalade, and some mornings he'd have a little boiled egg or a bit of a fry. But then, of course, when there'd be the parties or anyone there, they'd have a whole spread of stuff for the breakfast, like rashers, sausages, eggs, kedgeree. God knows, I can't remember all the different things anyway, but it'd be all gone in. Except when they go for the early morning shoots, they used to only have hard-boiled eggs and ham and porridge and toast, 4 o'clock in the morning, for the morning shoots in the early morning.
What time of year would you go for shoot at?
To go after the 4 o'clock, have the breakfast that time and go.
Sorry, what time of year, I meant? Sorry, what time would it be? October, November?
Yeah, around that time.
And
It'd be more, well, the winter time, October, November, into January. And after that, then they used to have, not very much, but they used to fish a good bit for salmon fishing up in Bunclody, is it? Clahaman up there or something like that. That big salmon that size. It's bring down sometimes, the way cooked them. Them were cooked in the fish kettle as well, and the big parties.
And were there many big parties?
Not in my day. I don't think there were. There'd be the shooting party, and then they'd have bit of the salmon fishing, there'd be a few there, but be only 3 or 4 of them, Old Captain Radish and I remember Mom jealous. He used to walk in Guinness's there, those them ones right they kept,
And tell me this, do you remember the time when Guinness has come down in this Guinness Book of Records story? Were you there? You were there that time,
I was, yeah.
What do you know about that at all?
Well, I don't know, not they were arguing. They were arguing about birds. Oh, what was it now? Some one that flies. God, I can't think of the name now.
Was it a plover?
Plover, yes, yeah, something like that. In the dining room one night. And Sir Hugh Beaver was there. And he was the one who was arguing, I think, with Mr. Jellett, and Major O'Rourke was there, and there was a good few of them in there, I think. And there was an argument about them and which was the fastest bird or something. And eventually that's where it originated from, like the Guinness Book of Records, that time. But after that now, I don't know much about how it was all organised and all, but that was where the argument started, and, you know.
And were you there that night?
I was, yeah. Sure, I cooked the dinner for them and they were arguing about it. Oh, I was there that night, all right. But I wouldn't be in the dining room, because I never was in the dining room, you know. The dining room, the kitchen was my place, like, you know. There'd be the parlourmaid and the housemaid used to be serving the dinner. But they'd have to collect that from the kitchen. Well, in the hallway they used to collect the food on the big trays and bring them down, you know.
Can you remember what time of year it was, what month it was, or anything like that?
Well, it had been November, I'd say.
November. What was you remember the year?
Oh gosh. I don't know, sure Barney must have had it. Barney tell you that, he had a lot of that.
So it was November, and there was a party on, and can you remember the people who were at the party? What were their names again?
Well, that's what I was trying to tell you. There was Sir Hugh Beaver, he was the main fella, and I think Major O'Rourke was there, and Mr. Jellett, he was a barrister, and there was people from Waterford, Hudson and Mr. Hudson, and I think they were all members of Guinness's crowd, like. I don't remember many more of them now. Their wives would be there, of course, as well. There was another one, lady someone, what was her name? I can't remember.
And did we, after having the dinner, and was this in the evening time after they had the food, or having this argument, or was it over the dinner?
It was at the dinner, I believe. I wasn't there, but the girls could tell you the argument. And mostly, I think, when the ladies used to leave the dining room and go to the drawing room for their coffee, and the gentlemen would stay in the dining room. So that's when the argument, I think, was on, because they'd be smoking all then as well. And they used to serve the coffee to the ladies in the drawing room. And that's all I done. And that's when the argument went on. And that was the end of the meal, like, for that, you know, after eating. Good feed, I suppose, and having a few drinks of whiskey, which used to be always brought down, certain whiskies and sherries or something, I don't know. Several drinks used to go to in the decanter. They wouldn't go in the bottle, of course. They leave the decanters on the table down there.
And they were the men that were in the room that night?
Yeah.
They all work for Guinness's?
I think they did now. I can't swear by that, because I know they'll just be calling by their names going in. I didn't really know them, like, only they were there now. You know what I mean?
No. Jesus.
Yeah.
And then you left there then, you left in 54, you left, was it? Or
That's right. I got married then. And I'm here ever since.
You had enough to be thinking about.
Do you know I was courting for 8 years before I decided to leave? I didn't want to leave the good life because it was a good life, really. You know, we never worked hard or anything. You know, I mean, we were our own boss there. It was a great place that time. There were no pressure on you, like, at all. You know, there'd be sure, most of the afternoons we'd be sitting around talking and arguing, and the fellas would come down from the garden to the kitchen window, and we'd be arguing there and making the tea for them, and God knows what, you know.
Where did you meet your husband?
Well, I met him there.
He's
He
there.
came in there, yeah. Came in there. I'll tell you now, he was only a young fella either, and he went to work up at the farm or something in Balmartin, and he was a short time up there, and he used to bring the cans of milk down to the dairy, and that's where I happened on him. And he wasn't long there until he didn't do that. He left it, he came down to the malting place. And he worked down there then till Barney's father was there that time. And Barney's father died sudden down on the slob. Did he tell you that?
No.
He died. Barney's father was out who won the shooting. I think it was Major O'Rourke was. Down on the slob, and he died down there. That got fright because I was after talking to him that morning going down. Then Barney's father was foreman down in the stores there. And when he died sudden, Barney was there for a while himself. And then Barney went to a toy or someplace, and my husband took over the doing of it then there, and he was there until he retired. Used to buy in the corn, you know, and do all that business down there then.
So that's your husband took over that job then?
Yeah.
That was down in the Maltons, was it?
Yes, yeah. But he wasn't doing the Maltons now. He used to buy all the corn, take in the corn and pass the corn. You know, they'd have to pass the corn and deal with the farmers and get the tips off them to go over the barleys and drink in the evening. But anyway, that's what happened. But he was there till he retired then.
Wow.
You know, and the two or three. Sure, there were 4 fellas down the office that time as well. You often wondered where the work was. He employed an awful lot of people, but there were no heavy work. But the poor fellas that was in the malt houses, that was heavy work. Oh yeah, and the kills and all. I suppose Barney told you all about them. But the big fires and everything else, you know. I used to love the smell of the malt. When I go out in the evening and come back that time of the year when it be dry, and when you walk up the hill, the smell of it used to be lovely. It was like a nice toast or something. Yeah. That was lovely. I remember that well.
That smell is gone now. Gone.
Oh, sure, there are flats now. No, nothing there now. I often said, wouldn't like to live there. There used to be an awful lot of rats in one time. Of course, they were after the corn and all, you know.
Yeah.
An awful lot.
And Barney was telling me, do you remember the women used to go down and bake bread in biscuit tins down in the...
That's right. In the ashes. Yeah. Well, now the only one mind you, I was a visitor to the malt house. I used to go in there in the winter time. I go for a walk. My husband was go in there, the big fire, the big long fires that lent to that table. And Larry Devricks was a local man that was doing in the Malton, and his daughter used to bring up cakes in like biscuit tins, I think they were, and put them into the ashes and bake. They used to bake lovely fruit cakes and things in it as well. Oh God!
It was used for baking bread and for courting.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yes. The only thing I didn't like was the smell of the pants hanging up. They were stiff.
It was some smell of you when you came out there.
But it was I tell you one thing, I used to ride home on the bicycle, go down to Killenny on the bicycle. Yeah. And my husband, Pat, used to come with me. And we come back after coming over the old bridge that was in Wexford, in and out through the barrels. And my 2 knees had been numb with the cold because there were no women wearing pants then days, there were skirts, you see. Oh, God, I was quite glad to go into the kiln and get a good warm up when we get back.
You could read that anyway.
Yeah, that's right.
You can warm up again.
Yeah, that's
I
right.
better let you get on with the rest of your day.
Yeah, that might as well. I'm arguing, but I'd like a cup of tea or something before you go.
No, I'm glad with him.